Innovation means so many things.
Right.
And that's what I want to first make sure that the whole community understands. These guys are all innovators. Alfred's an innovator. I guess I'm considered they'll be innovative in different ways.
Exactly.
And that's what makes us special as a profession.
For everybody out there, I am with 3 founders of 3 significant orthodontic products companies. So I'll let you guys introduce yourselves so that everybody knows who you are. But please, start with you, Adam, if you don't mind.
Sure, thank you very much. And first of all, thank you very much for all of this. So my name is Adam Schulhof. I am an orthodontist, New York, New Jersey area, and I am CEO of Grin. We're going to kick it over to John.
All right, this is John Pham coming from Southern California, CEO, co-founder of Inbrace.
And I'm Brandon Owen from Austin, Lake Travis area, and am the CEO, founder of KLOwen braces.
So what I wanted to talk about here a little bit is, it's funny, you hang out with orthodontists here, and we talk about innovation, right? How are you innovating? Oh, I got a 3D printer, right? And innovation comes in all forms. Let's start with you, Brandon. I want to ask the same question of all 3 of you, if you don't mind. First of all, when did you get your idea to do what you ultimately did? It's a 3-part question. When did you get your idea to do what you wanted to do? Number 2, was it the first idea you had, or was it the current idea you did, right? Whether it's Grin or Inbrace or KLOwen, right? Was this your first idea and you took it to the end? Or was it an innovation on a previous idea that you then sort of built upon and changed into what it ended up being? And what was the biggest struggle you had along that way? Massive question. So I'm going to break it down easier. Let's start with the first part of it. Okay. Was it your first idea? Or was it like something I started and I said, that wasn't going to work, so I innovated and moved it into this?
Yeah, so for me, I was a digital orthodontic consultant for GAC Dent Supply at the time. And they kind of just said, hey, we'd love you to kind of figure out what the next digital bracket system for us might look like. And it was my first idea, but it was after I've tried 16 digital bracket systems and tried to figure out what was working and what was not working. Because there were so many that performed beautifully on 75% or 80%, but they all had a critical flaw. And the biggest thing for me was we've got to make digital custom braces that actually work, that are actually affordable, so you can actually scale it for every patient every day, not just the upsell of, hey, pay an extra $500 or $600. And that's really where we try to get is perfect execution, affordability, so you can actually make every day. Walking into your office on a Monday morning and seeing every single patient is an aligner check, you're thinking, man, I'll just go hang out in my office and surf the web for the rest of the day. And that's what I'm trying to get to is, what if you have a solution for lingual? What if you have a solution for labial? What if you have a solution with light force for clear? But where every patient's a digital custom patient, and that's where my kind of big passion point came.
Or potentially monitor them in a different way, right?
Yes,
so it's kind
absolutely.
Of interesting, right? And John, what about yourself?
I do have to give a shout out in that all of us here are standing on shoulders of some giant, and every innovation is some iteration of something that was done in the past. So, I'll first start there, but fundamentally for us, when we started this, it was about looking at the orthodontic market in general, and we just kind of looked at, there's only about 5-6 million starts a year, but hundreds of millions of people who need teeth straightening. So as an orthodontist, I always thought people loved me because I see these people coming in, visiting my practice. What about all those folks not walking into my practice, right? Why don't I have something for them? So Inbrace fundamentally, yes, we're behind the teeth, yes, we're digital, yes, we're custom, yes, but all these things without bringing in new consumers, without growing the market, is still what I call a red ocean game. So we're about tapping and growing the market by tapping into the blue ocean.
Was Inbrace, the way I see it now, the first idea of that? Was it the first iteration? Or was there something that was there before Inbrace?
Well, as folks probably know, I'm a researcher at heart, engineer by training, published a bunch of papers in the AJO, JCO. The first iterations of it was really just big data, finite element analysis, CAD CAM stuff. We were trying to treat kids with cleft lip and palate actually, in ways where they wouldn't have to come in so often, in ways where they don't have to look worse before they look better, in ways where it could be more comfortable, more gentle, et cetera, et cetera. So the first iterations looked completely different, but you know what? The next iterations will still continue looking completely different. And what I'll tell all the folks out there is that I'm from the tech world. We all expect this thing right here to look different 2, 3, 4 years from now. And I think ortho should as well, 2, 3 years, 4 years from now. And Inbrace will, 2, 3, 4 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, it's remarkable in the short time that I've known you, relative to our lives, right? It's been a short time. Looking at the changes that have happened in Inbrace, looking at the changes that have happened in KLOwen, right? It's amazing. And even Grin, right? Like the things that you're doing are happening so fast. Like an iPhone takes a year, year and a half, 2 years for the next iteration. You guys are going quicker than that. I mean, if I say
ortho can move fast if we have the right mindset.
That's the T-shirt of this podcast. Ortho can move fast. But let's go to Adam. And again, let's talk a little bit about Grin. Was brilliant idea. I want you to talk a little bit about it. So many people, I think a lot of people kind of know what Inbrace is, and I think to a lesser extent, a lot of people know what KLOwen is. Right? You're both growing, and what is Grin, and was it your first shot at that?
I'll kind of start at the beginning and tee it off from where John was just talking about. Ultimately, this is all about category creation. And this is really, when we look at the category that John's talking about, when we look at the blue ocean out there, when we look at all of these consumers, which used to be a dirty word, but ultimately, with the consumerization of healthcare, we live in a world where our patients are consumers. They have choices. They're used to having choices in their lives. I was looking at some of the DTC that was entering our space, and a lot of orthodontists were getting upset about that. And I was saying to myself, well, why is it that the consumer would possibly choose something like that where we're actually circumventing the doctor within healthcare?
That's right.
And it was about talking to all of these patients coming through my doors in my practice in New York City, being very close to the scan shops, and understanding, tell me why you made that choice, and tell me what was it that you were looking for. And every single one of them, some of them talked a little bit about costs and things like that, but across the board, it was about convenience. It was about, we have so much innovation in orthodontics, but it's all to some extent about the doctor and the processes and the appliances, not about the patient journey. And so the way I always looked at it is, how can I give the patient, the consumer, the journey that they're looking for, that unfortunately they're going online and doing a lot of other things and getting maltreated instead of actually being in the orthodontist chair. So this is really, my thought was, let's get the convenience back in the hands of the consumer. Let's show them that the orthodontic journey doesn't have to be the narrative that these other large companies are getting out there. So Grin is really, it's not just about remote monitoring, it's really about empowering patients and orthodontists to have the right technology so that the orthodontist can actually give the consumer the journeys and the processes they are looking for.
Can I just give a shout out to Doug over here, who's just frantically trying to get this thing up and running? And I will tell you something, Glenn.
Yeah.
What's going on right now?
Innovation,
is
baby.
Every
Hell
single
yeah.
day in our little labs. Every single day.
This is.
So
I was
totally
thinking the same thing.
to the whole audience out there. Just thank you, y'all, for putting up with this. But there's a story to be told that needs to get out there.
Behind
and
the
Glenn,
scenes.
appreciate you giving us a platform to tell the story.
No, it's, this has been a long time coming. And with the Orthopreneurs University, with the RD group, with the summit, well, the one thing I haven't done the way I should is really use this platform to speak with innovators, which has been my goal now for the next year. So, the fact is, you guys came to me check it out, dude. The three of us here together. I'm like, let's get this podcast going. I don't think people realize the difference between their practices as orthodontists and your lives as orthodontists, right? Because, right, you guys all work 40 hours a week, 50, 60, 70 hours a week as orthodontists, right? I'm joking a little bit, of course, but what percentage of your life today is doing ortho versus innovating in ortho? If I was going to break it up by time. And I know that when you're practicing, you're innovating, but let's separate it out as on the product. So what percentage of the week have you broken into hours spent on? Because I can tell you, if I work 27 hours as an orthodontist, I'm working 30 hours to 40 hours a week on Orthopreneurs.
Yeah.
Right? And people think this is like, oh, it's a cool little side hustle, dude, you know? Start with you, Adam.
It's interesting because if you start adding up the hours, there's just not enough hours in the week, and yet we always somehow get it done. I'm working 2 clinical days a week, but those clinical days, thank God for my team, my staff, my associates, I'm getting pulled into my office to be on a call with China, Tel Aviv, dealing with HR issues, manufacturing issues, whatever, just constantly. And so they're overlap hours. Like our lives are just one big overlap where, somebody today was talking about work-life balance and that it's not a zero-sum game.
Right.
It's not just one or the other. For an entrepreneur, and to some extent a lot of orthodontists are entrepreneurs, it's what you live and breathe. It's your life. So, if I had to say, I'd probably say I'm now 20% clinical, 80% everything else.
20 clinical.
But
right.
I it's almost like it's 100.
Exactly.
Because, even the clinical part feeds into everything we're building because we're building it for orthodontists.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. And you, John?
There's so much to be said here. Talk about work-life balance, and the only way to make this work is to know the real you and what you're trying to do and call it work-life synergy, because your clinical work should feed your technical work, should feed your business work, and so on and so forth. So, what I'll say is I glove up, probably half a day a week, glove up, but I'm treating thousands of people every single day through our platform, through our providers. So, right. The world that I've been fortunate enough to be a part of now, I'm able to treat patients in a way that I never thought. We're treating patients while I'm sleeping. So
that's amazing.
And I had a quote here. Ron Redmond once taught me, you work with your hands, you make a living. You work with your mind, you make a fortune.
That's great.
And that stuck with me.
That's amazing. And I'm going to throw something onto that after Brandon goes, because I want to hear his answer to this.
Yeah, so I'm doing a startup right now. We started bonding patients back in June, and I've never done a startup. It was always, I purchased a practice, we acquired a couple, we were busy office, and so to come back and reset, and my office, my headquarters and my dental office are one in the same building. And so, the beauty of this is I can actually be seeing patients and I run out and I check someone for 5-10 minutes and then I'm back to CEO. And so probably overall a day a week is purely clinical, but I see that scaling. But the fun thing about what Adam's technology and John's technology and Alfred's technology is, again, it's back to that. If I just have to do an aligner check and it's just a quick 30-second where it's very little operationally, and it's more about personal connection with the patients. Yep. I can dedicate still a lot of my bandwidth to running back, and now I'm still right back in the. And I think the problem for me is I wake up in the middle of the night and my brain doesn't shut off. So it's almost like it's 80, 90, 100 hours a week because you just can't leave it behind.
One thing you just said was so key because. For me, I often say to doctors when they ask me how I'm utilizing Grin in my practice, I'm like, if I didn't have Grin, I couldn't create Grin.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
That's a good one.
And, it's interesting because what you just said, there's something that's I think you'll appreciate, because when I used to run a lot and do triathlons and biking, there's a big difference between training and working out. Right? If you want to work out, you throw on your shoes, you go for a 5-mile run, you enjoy the day, you see what's going on, and you turn it off. When you're training, my last mile was 3 minutes. My next mile better be 2, right? And it was
Measured.
like every single thing I did had a purpose. When I saw a new pair of shoes, would it do this? When I saw a new trail run, I need to do this hill. You guys are training.
We live in the world of metrics and KPIs.
Right, but you're always training. There's no such thing as, let me just give this a shot. There has to be thought behind everything. So like when you're looking around or you lie down at night and you put your head on the pillow, you're not going, okay, I'm just going to bed. It's all of a sudden, wait a minute. I just thought of this. If you're like me, I just thought of this thing, oh my God, I need to get out of bed and go write this down, because if it waits till tomorrow, I'm going to forget all about it.
That's why you got to have the pad next to your bed.
That's why I talked about it once on Orthopreneurs like 4 years ago. I bought something called Aqua Notes.
Yep.
They suction cup inside. Tell me honestly, do any of you have them?
I have Remarkable, so I keep my Remarkable with me all the time. It's near my bedside. Boom.
In my shower, I have a pad of paper That's suction. It's waterproof paper that's suction cups. It's called Aqua Notes, and it has a waterproof pencil. So like I'm in the shower, I'm like, oh my God, here's an idea. I write it down. It's soaking wet. I put it on my counter. When I come home at night, it's waiting for me. But there was something else that you said, John, and I wanted to follow up with it a little bit. It just made me think that everybody out here, and it's dwindling, of course. It's the end of Summit or end of cocktail hour almost, but
They're just going to the next party.
exactly. It's there's an old song, "The Road Goes On Forever." There's a Texas, I can't think of his name right now. It's driving me crazy, but it's a folk singer in Texas. It's folk rock, and he's got a great song that's titled "The Road Goes On Forever, but the Party Never Ends," and it's just fantastic. Great song. But what I was thinking about before is that people look, if I weren't standing here, and even though, because I guess it's my summit, I am standing here, and they would look at the four of us and go, God, look what those guys have done, and they must be making so much money. Before you get there, that's not even the question, because the four of us
I had McDonald's yesterday for dinner. So.
Yeah, but
You were just making fun that I had the McDonald's app on here.
And he literally has a McDonald's app
I
on
know
his
what
phone.
Adam had for dinner last night, and you wouldn't understand if I said the word kugel. But the point is, the four of us are standing here, and people look, and I guarantee the first thing he goes, God, look at this summit. Look how much money he must have made. And let's assume, just for a second, because I want to put this out there, because I think you're going to love this. Let's assume for the moment that all of you, through the new companies you've created, the recent companies, have made more money than you need to for the rest of your life. Let's just assume that that's happened. We know it hasn't. That's not what's driving you.
No.
The money, there has to be money at the end of the rainbow. If there isn't, no money, no mission, right? Why, you could go into the Peace Corps if you wanted to help people. But I want to find out what drives each of you. If you were going to look out at that 2, 3, 7 year plan, what does your success look like and why? And I'll start with you, John, because we haven't started with you on anything.
Oh man, there's a lot there.
Non-monetarily.
Sure. I'll first start off with what I've learned and what we've been fortunate about at Inbrace. We've won Orange County Top Workplaces 4 years in a row. We're not the highest payer. And in fact, Glenn, I would say monetary compensation is the lowest form of compensation of all.
Agreed.
What our team members, our providers, and even for myself, we're out there for something much bigger than that. We're missionaries, not mercenaries. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're doing it for the money, you know what's going to happen? You're going to chase the next hot thing. Whether it be, 3D printing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, and the next buzzword. So it needs to be much deeper than that. And for me, being from Southern California, a lot of our forefathers, Engel, Tweed, Steiner, they all had their beginnings
I like
there.
that those are our forefathers. I get it. We're all saying the same thing, but you said forefathers, I'm thinking Lincoln, Washington,
the ortho
Jefferson,
forefathers. And listen,
Abraham, Isaac, Jacob.
listen, this was only 120 years ago. So this profession is still such in its infancy. And what I keep wondering is, if Edward Engel or Tweed or whoever it is was alive today, and they had access to iPhones, big data, 3D printing, yada yada yada, what would they say about how we're practicing? I was talking to Kyle earlier today over lunch, and I think they would look and they would say, yo, why are y'all still practicing the same exact way almost?
Yeah.
Why are you guys still using the same widgets? And so that's what gets me fired up.
You're the Calvin Case.
Sure.
Right? Edward Engel and Calvin Case come along, right? Am I crazy here? I don't know if I was right. But that's exactly the point. Innovation is necessary.
Yeah.
Has to keep going.
And I'm sorry, but we talk about innovation gets me fired up. And innovation is so much more than just like widgets. There's a zillion ways to innovate through leadership, through business models, through how you market, how you talk about ortho, right? Perception of ortho. Innovation means so many things.
Right.
And that's what I want to first make sure that the whole community understands. These guys are all innovators. Alfred's an innovator. I guess I'm considering they'll be innovating in different ways.
Exactly.
And that's what makes us special as a profession.
So finish the sentence. Again, I want to jump back to both of you in just a second, but since we're on it, I will be very happy with Inbrace when we blank.
Just because we had that talk with Neil today, I have to say, I'm not happy when, I'm happy now.
That's a great statement.
Okay.
But you have goals.
I have goals. So my goal is to double the number of people getting orthodontic treatment within the next 5 to 10 years.
Because we're offering them an alternative that allows them to come get it when the current alternatives don't fit them.
Because we're tapping into all the people not walking into our practices right now.
Awesome. So Adam, we'll go over to you. So you're looking 3, 4, 5, 7 years from now. What is it you see as what's driving you non-monetarily when you go to bed at night?
Those that know me and that know the Grin story, it started all because I looked 20 years in the future and I looked at orthodontics as, unfortunately, my good friends who are prosthodontists are today. You know that world pretty well.
I'm never after Anil today. I told him
because you've been a dentist for 87 years.
You were a Joe dentist for 41 years or something like that.
I'm never again for the rest. I told Anil today.
Awesome.
For those who don't know what I'm talking about, Anil started one of arguably the greatest talks that I've seen in my life.
I wouldn't even say arguably. It was
Phenomenal.
Period. It was.
Pinnacle.
It was. You're talking about 4 guys here who have a little bit of experience, who all live in the now, right? But look to the future, content with what we've got, but want to innovate to get better. And yet, he put us in our place instantly. And he had called me and asked for permission to do this. He wasn't sure if it was right. He didn't know if people would receive it. He didn't know if it was appropriate. I said, dude, not only is it appropriate, it's necessary. You've got to go there. And for those listening who haven't seen it, at some point, we'll make Anil's, with his permission, free of charge. We'll make sure everybody gets to watch it because it's a life-changing thing. But again, this whole thing, he joked online, he roasted everybody before he got into the heavy stuff, and he called me up on stage and said, Glenn, every podcast, everything you've ever done, everybody knows you've practiced for 20 years. So I told him, I've never ever, well, I guess I just did, but I'm never ever, he said it was 43 years is what he said, but I'm never ever going to say it again publicly. So with that, please.
So
yes, I have some experience.
There you go. But, the idea that we were being taken out of the narrative, right? And, again, not to be a doomsday, it was happening. It was really happening. And the narrative out there, and unfortunately the narrative was being put out there by these companies instead of by us, the orthodontists, was this is what orthodontics is. This is what traditional old school orthodontics is. And the things that consumers are looking for today are something very different. So, part of the reason I brought Grin to market was exactly for that. I wanted to get orthodontists back in the narrative. I wanted consumers to understand how integral we were to their tooth straightening journey. And that's my goal. And so 5 years from now, 7 years from now, when consumers are understanding that they could have the journey that they're looking for to their perfect smile in our offices, in the office of an orthodontist, that's going to make me a very happy man.
Yeah, I love that. And by the way, there's an amazing follow-up question I'm going to ask after Brandon gives us his answer. Because you guys, I want to start like a study club with you guys. Like an ortho entrepreneurial study club where we just hang out all the time. And
is it called Orthopreneurs?
Orthopreneur, ortho innovate. I don't know what word it would be. I'd be embarrassed to say I belong in the same group as you guys. But you put my mind on fire. So Brandon, 3, 5, 7 years from now, we look down. What is it that's driving that innovation and that I'm not going to sleep until sort of attitude?
My aha moment was, I love the impact that we have as orthodontists on the patients we serve. When you look at their lives, when you look at them smile, getting their braces off and beyond, and you look at their high school graduation pictures and you're like, wow, we've just set this person up to have such a great way to express themselves. And to me, I love that it's always the smile and the eyes that are the first two things that people notice. And you can't really do much about your eyes, but wow, do we get to have a major impact on people's lives. It's so cool. And so for me, it was, what if I get to impact not just my local community, but what if I have a global reach? What if I can do something that's going to help people around the world? That was my driving motivator. And since then, the cool thing is we have been in a stagnant, when it comes to fixed appliances and just the ortho community in general, pretty stagnant. There's nothing, if you look 40 years ago, the wires and the brackets that most of us are using are exactly the same. And how many industries are out there where you have a 40-year technology gap?
Right.
So there's this massive opportunity, but not only that, but it's this confluence of technology. So, I want every person that's doing digital custom braces to be doing dental monitoring as well. Grin is every single patient we do, we need to be looking at these patients remotely, because if I can, convenience is key, right? The AJO Smile Direct article in April of last year said it was convenience over price that people chose Smile Direct.
Convenience.
Convenience was the number one reason they picked that option.
And yet everybody believes that if I give $1,000 off,
No.
for people to come in.
No, that's not it.
Right.
It was convenience. And so if 19, Gage's data, it's 19 visits right now, 27 months for conventional treatment. If we think that that's okay and we're going to be able to stand up against a Smile Direct or a Candid or a Bite, I think we're mistaken. I think we need to find opportunities to bridge technology. So if I can finish a patient in 4 or 5 visits with Grin and Inbrace and Grin and Lightforce, and we're getting better results, not less, and we're seeing patients more often, not less, but it's super convenient for them, to me, that's the sustaining this profession. So I love this bridging together the technologies. It's not just about one, it's about leveraging all of it.
And I love the idea that you said Smile Direct Club, because now we're going to get a lawsuit. That's awesome. This podcast just got...
Glenn, you know what? I can protect you.
Oh, don't worry. We'll protect each other, man. We'll go after people hard. But, by the way, just to throw it out there, because we all have beers in our hand, we're kind of relaxed. Is there ever a time that a KLOwen concept works with an Inbrace concept? Because both of you work with a Grin concept.
Yeah. No, I would love that. So I actually talked to John about it a while ago. It's one of those things that, what I love is that I can have a patient walk in and say, I've got a digital custom solution, whether you want aligners or lingual or a clear or metal. It's all digital, it's all custom. And so it's an easy integration, but we have to focus. So much of these things we have to get our core business established. We have to do so many things. So down the road, man, that'd be a dream of mine to get to partner up. And I don't think it's a heavy lift. It's just, we're all just juggling a million balls, right?
But I'm not referring to now.
Yeah.
I'm saying, is there a day that the three of you could see that all three of your products somehow work in concert with one another, so we're bringing in people, getting them done even quicker, and doing it with less chair time for the orthodontist?
You know what I'll say, Glenn? Do you know what I'll say, y'all? Is
y'all.
It's already now. So again, I do believe in the infinite game, and there are providers of ours who do Inbrace and do Grin and do Lightforce and do KLOwen, and all these practices are growing.
Right.
It's not an either or.
It's an and.
So it's an and. I mean, yeah, actually that's what one of my mentors, Clint Cornell, always says. Life is about and. So when you're adding true value, you're not cannibalizing, you're not doing commodity, then it's possible, and it is possible now. So
We heard a great lecture yesterday, I believe it was, and it talked about, from your marketing perspective, from every perspective, putting the consumer first, right? Everybody talks about digital.
Yes.
It's not about digital, it's about custom. It's about custom braces on the outside,
sorry, dude, I'm
about
fist
custom
pumping him
braces
over
on the
here.
inside, about the way a patient is being monitored and treated and appointed to be customized for the patient, because this is making it patient-centric, consumer-centric, which is exactly what they're looking for.
Right.
So, can I add, I gotta give a shout out to my boy Matt Wang over there. He has a great quote. You know what he says? He says, efficiency just for efficiency solves a you problem. But efficiency or lifestyle-based treatment solves a consumer problem.
Awesome.
You solve a consumer problem, guess what happens? The market doubles. Guess what happens? Infinite.
Right.
Then it's not better, faster, cheaper. Then it's not $1,000 off. Then the game changes. So what we're about is about changing the rules of the game, not working within the boundaries of the game that's given to us. And that's what I want all orthopreneurs out there to understand.
Right.
That's what it's about.
Amen, brother. Love it.
Sorry, I get fired up.
No,
about
go,
that,
bro. I get it. And entrepreneurial stuff gets my juices going. So yesterday we did something. Was it yesterday? Today's Saturday. So it was on Thursday. We had a private group with Todd Brown. I know he's an acquired taste for some people, but he's a Dan Kennedy-esque sort of dude who lets me really sort of flex my inner entrepreneurial muscle, which is where I really get happy, like looking at ways to draw new people in. And so people were talking in the room about, I understand that if you're going to offer somebody, oh, by the way, this will come back to you, Brandon, in just a second, but if you're talking about saying, hey, I want to sell my $7,000 coaching program, So I'm going to bring you in with a book of 3 ways to increase your better life. Then I'm going to say, by the way, do you want to upsell and come to our annual meeting? And by the way, if you're coming to our annual meeting, you should join our mastermind group. And by the way, and that's the classic sales technique. It's a 2-step funnel system that orthodontists don't know the first thing about that I'm actually working on right now. And the biggest thing that you guys are going to like, I'm going to watch John's head explode. This is going to be, everybody who's watching, John's head is about to explode because he's going to get so excited. So someone in the room...
I should start last, so whatever y'all want to say.
No, it's not an answer. When I say what I'm about to say, you're going to love it. So someone in the room said, yeah, but everything you're selling in that other model is a cheap front-end offer getting people to an expensive back-end offer, right? And he said, ortho is the front-end offer. I said, you're looking at it all wrong. Ortho's the back-end offer. What if I put out an ad into the ether that said, lost your retainer a while ago? Want a new retainer? Come on in, I'll give you a $19 retainer. Get people into the office. By the way, did you notice your front teeth are a little crooked? Would you like to fix that? I can fix the front teeth, but would you like your bite fixed? And by the way, if you want your bite fixed, would you like full ortho? And if you do, would you like that with lingual braces? Which, by the way, shouldn't be more expensive. I'm just throwing it out there.
And it's not.
But it shouldn't be, right? Because people out there think, right? And by the way, if you're going to do that, would you like whitening and lifetime retainers as well?
Yes.
Ortho is not a front-end or a back-end offer. It fits in the funnel. And the more orthodontists start to look at that and realize that they are entrepreneurs, it'll be great. But I was going to, eyes and teeth. Hey, you want colored contacts? Come in. We'll give you, my optician will give you color contacts. And by the way, while you're here, have you thought about fixing your smile? Like, it's endless. This is endless. People don't realize that we have so much low-hanging fruit if you ask the right questions at the beginning of the conversation, as opposed to just assuming they do or they don't, or all I have is. This is up your alley, John.
Let our colleagues have a chance to say something before I speak.
Please.
So, no, I agree 100%. I mean, we have the ability now, without this visit the office, we can deliver convenience, which allows us to expand our scope without expanding our overhead, but we can touch the patients for a lifetime in so many kind of elevated forms, and it's just really a neat prospect to think that it's not just a 2-year cycle.
Right.
We can have a lifetime relationship.
And I'm just putting this down while you talk because I'm going to check the computer.
We can drew it from across the world now even too.
I'm going to ask you one very simple question, then I'm going to ask a very difficult question, and then we'll head out after that. First question, why is there not an orthodontic incubator somewhere? Why is there not a place where resources are available and innovation collaboratively in the same space occurs like it does in the rest of the business world? Where Grin is working in that corner, KLOwen's in that corner, Inbrace is over here, Lightforce is over there, and all day long, you guys are playing foosball as you talk out the future of orthodontics.
I'm more of a ping pong guy, but
hey, I'm down.
Me.
I'm down.
I think it starts with our education. I think at the breeding ground, it needs to start there. And while I think a lot of our programs are innovative in many ways, a lot of our programs are also very conformist in many ways. And I think that Neil hit it right in the head in that we all ride down the middle lane because it's so safe. So I think at the academic level, we have to at least be progressive and say, it's okay to not take the multiple choice test because innovation, guess what? There are no options.
I agree.
Like I come from engineering. So my tests were blank pieces of paper and they were like, derive this answer. I go to dental school and then it's like, they have A, B, C, or D. A, B, C, or D.
Or D and E and E.
Or D and some crazy permutation of that. And it's like, what were we talking about?
We talked about it just yesterday afternoon, and the way I said it is, we've been rewarded. We, meaning orthodontists, for being in the box thinkers. What Anil called in the middle lane safe. Not just safe, but you're rewarded for performing exactly the way the institution expects for you to perform.
But the question is that chicken or the egg? Did people self-select going into this because they were those people?
Yes and yes.
But there are those outliers, right? So there are the outliers.
I'm looking at 3.
And sometimes not necessarily the top of the class, other times they are. But the problem is that as a specialty, we have the outliers, but the specialty needs to band together behind those outliers in order to create some of these type of programs that you're talking about. Because right now, unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there, not those in this group, not those even probably at this meeting, that look down on those that are trying to innovate and push us out of that box.
Yeah. I know orthodontists today, great people, great clinicians, if you look in terms of just the outcome, who think that clear plastic cannot move teeth effectively, that you will always have a compromised result. And that's...
Or this is the way it's always been done. My patients want to come in every single month to see me. I swear they do, because I'm the doctor.
Exactly.
They love me.
Once I brought an associate into my practice, I realized how unimportant I really was.
And that's fantastic.
Well, and unimportant in the sense that it's, you know, they'll see somebody.
You've created value, you've created a culture. Patients are coming for all of what you've created, but they understand that the systems that you've put in place is what's going to get them from point A to point B.
And Brandon, what about you? Your take on, what about incubation for, you know, in the ortho world, where you bring together all these companies and allow them to grow together?
So I think the big thing is the construct has always been, you have a good idea and you go to a manufacturer and they potentially give you a royalty. And the royalties suck, by the way, because that's the route I tried to take. I was like, oh, okay, this is how you do it.
Right.
And so there just weren't a lot of models out there. And that's where, like, John was such a cool, like, trailblazer in this is, holy cow, yeah, you can just start up your own company and you can just, okay, this is a doable thing.
Which is amazing.
And so that's such a huge thing, is just, do you have a mentor? Because we had no examples. Like, there was no example. It was, okay, here you go, one of the big companies, and we're going to get a tiny little bit, and you guys are going to make millions off of our idea. And we're, you know, the credit is so due to the inventor, but it gets cannibalized by the institution. Right. And, you know, I guess the other big thing is, we did that last year. We all came together at this digital summit. And it's actually where Adam's company launched. Before COVID, we were all out in Denver. We did this pitch event, and I saw Adam's Grin scope, and I was like, my eyes just blew up. And I'm like, Adam, I need this. Like, you have no idea how badly I need this. And it was a little pivot of what kind of their core business model was at the time. And COVID really pushed it into...
But also, you created that meeting versus the meetings used to be created by the institutions and by manufacturers.
Which is why I did this.
Exactly.
I wanted to have an independent ability to say, you know, here's the funniest thing. You guys may laugh or be horrified by this, but I've had about 30 people walk up to me, give or take, in the last 48 hours telling me, dude, it blew my mind that you had a national anthem, that you started this meeting with a flag and a national anthem. You have no idea what that meant to me. I cried when I heard it, and I can't believe you did that with so many people out there who wouldn't want that. And I said, it's my rules. I get to do whatever I want in this meeting.
You want to know something, man? That strikes a chord in me, too, as a first-generation immigrant, and I will talk about this, is the notion of America in itself is an experiment. And America was built not on what we had in the past, but something completely new. And Adam and Brandon and I were talking about this earlier. If you look for what's wrong and fix it, you know what you get? You get more of the same. But if you build it from the ground up, completely different, then you get the future.
You're building the future.
And so what we want is to create a new future for this profession. Because all this money going in, again, is not to steal from what we currently have. These guys don't want that. They want to create, they want to steal, or they want to take the stuff that we're leaving on the table.
Amen. And so now there's the last question, the tough question. Everybody at this table has had obstacles they've hit, and they've gone around them, because you just don't stop. You find a way through. That's what we want to teach our children, right? You run into a problem, you don't give up. I always love that line. You ever see The Martian, the movie The Martian with Matt Damon? Right? You remember at the very, spoiler alert. You remember, if you take the headphones off, you're still going to hear it. But
He's an orthodontist. He's a smart guy.
So at the end of The Martian, do you remember he gets back and he's talking to all the students, which is like one of my favorite scenes of any movie ever, because they're like, he's telling the story of how he survived. And you remember what he says? He goes, space is unrelenting. It wants to kill you. Yes. So you solve a problem. And when you solve that problem, you solve the next problem. And if you solve enough problems, you make it home.
Yes.
Right? And so every one of you on your journey, you've hit a problem and you've solved it. Or maybe you haven't, but you somehow pushed through and you got to the next one. What right now is the one thing that when you go to bed that's on your mind that you need to work out right now? I told you it'd be a tough question. What's that problem? Because all of you have agreed that you're not where you want to be yet. And let's be honest, if it was an easy solution, you'd be there because you're those kinds of people. So starting with you, Adam, start with you. What's that one thing right now that's that obstacle, problem, whatever you want to call it, that when you go to bed, you say, if only I could solve this, I'll get to the next problem?
So I'm going to be very forward and open about what's happening. We exist today, Grin, as a B2B business. We're selling to orthodontists, right? And we're creating a solution for the practice and the patients. My goal when I came to market initially was to be something that went to the consumer and turned their head around back to the specialty and to the orthodontist. So the consumer side of things. And we have so many unbelievable things that are very close to being in play. And sometimes as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, you answer to a board, etc. You have to decide where to split your bandwidth. So it's like, what is priority? What do we pay attention to? And so it's really just threading that needle of understanding. I've got all of these amazing doctors to take care of. We have unbelievable traction with doctors onboarding, et cetera, on this B2B side. But at the same time, the biggest value is going to come when we can actually grab those consumers' attentions, the ones that aren't looking at us orthodontists right now, and turn their eyes to our practices and say, you can have everything you're looking for at your local orthodontist. And so it's really just juggling what to hit with priorities first and what's the best way that's going to bring the greatest value to what we want to achieve.
Right on. John?
This is not a cop-out answer to say this, but I do have to say that the answers, you think they're without, but they're always within. And it really does go back to knowing why you started it, right? And, our first 20, 30, 40 steps are just as easy or hard as our 40,000th, 50,000th, 60,000th step. The first 500 grand I raised is just as hard as my $100 million thing I just raised. But you need to still be bold and take those steps, right? Because it's the first 50 feet that kill you when you're falling off that mountain and you're climbing. So I think just keeping your eye on the prize, remembering why you do it, and if your why has evolved, recognize that and evolve with your why, just like we do as parents and our children are growing. So I think it's that.
Great answer.
Thank you.
Not a cop out there, man.
So mine's actually an easy answer, and and Anil hit the nail on the head, not only in his talk, but even in a conversation I had with him just a few hours ago was, I keep saying my why is so I can spend more time with my family, yet I keep putting that off.
Right.
It's like in 18 months, I'm going to have a team around me so I can start dedicating it back to family. He's like, Brandon, screw 18 months, yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday. And so leaving this meeting, that's mine.
Yeah.
That's mine.
We all do that. When my practice gets to X, when I've sold amount of X, when the number of registrants for the meeting is X, when the number of Orthopreneurs University people sign-ups are X, and I think all three of us, honestly, we live in the now, right? But we're also living in the future, and it's so hard to turn that off because you feel like you're leaving something on the table. You feel like you're leaving innovation off the table. And I know we're all the same in the sense you feel like you're depriving people of something. But at the end of the day, sometimes we're depriving ourselves, right? And so we were out of time a long time ago, but this was amazing. I appreciate you guys. I think it was John pulled me and he goes, dude, look who we have here. And I'm like, amen. So I want to say first thank you to the three of you for what you're contributing to the profession.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is amazing.
Let's give a shout out to Alfred, who should be here. But I think happy birthday, buddy.
Happy birthday, Alfred.
Happy birthday.
You'll see this if this happened to work out Facebook Live, if we've innovated enough that you're actually seeing this, Alfred, happy birthday. If not, happy belated birthday to you, my friend. And number two, I endeavor to have more check-ins with each of you through podcast, through video, whatever it is, so we can continue up, maybe, wouldn't it be awesome, like all four of us right now have inspired somebody out there to start their own journey, to develop their own product?
We need it.
To do something to do. I was going to say something, and then I would realize that you guys would have argued me if I said, as long as it's not lingual. But the thing is, all three of you.
No.
The point is, there's enough abundance out there
Exactly.
that they hope you start innovating. Because if you innovate, you're going to push them to innovate, and there's enough out there for everybody. And so I just want to say thank you to the three of you, not only for being here, but for being here, to coming to me, to following my vision for what it was that I planned. And my sincerest hope personally is that the component organizations and the AAO, they learn from all that's good. I have so much to learn here. I have so many issues to work out and make it even better.
We all do.
I agreed. It's not a negative. I'm just saying I hope that they see what's gone on, they hear the feedback. Some organizations are incapable of doing
The
one-on-one.
first step to knowing is knowing that you don't know.
Exactly. But you don't know what you don't know. We could do this all night, man.
Then look, start looking.
So I just want to say thank you for everything. With that, I'm going to sign us off. Maybe we were never on. This could be like existentially. Some like,
Brother Glenn, honestly, I loved it either way. I'd love to do it again at any time.
I would love to.
You know, I'll fly to you.
I'll fly to you.
You fly to me. I mean, whatever.
We'll start the incubator.
I'd be happy to host it. Actually, Inbrace, we're off the line now, but I'll tell you.
No, we're still online.
Okay, we're still online.
This is still going.
Inbrace started in an incubator space, and we built our place like an incubator. So if you came by, you'd see what's cooking in the lab. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
I'd love for y'all to come by.
And again, for those of you out there who don't know what an incubator is, go look it up. It's easy to find. We're taking for granted, like, front end, back end offers. Like, just go look them up. I promise it'll be good. And we'll do this. I can't wait to get together with you guys. I respect you guys so much for what you're doing. And like you said, Brandon, part of my thing I've got to change isn't just family, which I've endeavored the last year and a half to really spend more time with family. I've got 2 kids graduating high school. I got 1 graduating college who's here. And I've endeavored to do that. But the other thing is the cross of life. I need to spend more time with you guys, right? That's the key, is you got to make friends. You got to spend time with friends, because they're just as important in many respects as family, because nobody on this planet, family included, understands me like you guys understand me.
You know, I haven't had a chance to tell you yet, Glenn, but when you first came up with this forum called Orthopreneurs, it got me really excited.
Right on.
And orthodontic entrepreneurship, I mean, we need more of it. And I mean, all the folks out there, they've joined the forum because I think there's hope for something more. And even you, Adam, like, you were blazing the trail when I was still a resident. So I got to give you props really for giving me hope, prior to this Facebook forum existing.
That was the first iteration of it, right? First educating and then innovating. And exactly what you said, there's so much. I mean, we talk about abundance mindset, but the pie is so much bigger than what we're eating now and fighting over now. And it's just, honestly, we would love for everybody out there and anybody that has any kind of questions about an idea, about the process, if you guys know these two here and I speak for them anytime, sell, DM, whatever, we love and geek out talking about these kind of things.
And by the way, it's not a pie, it's a bakery, dude.
There you go.